You are listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector here at the Private Officer Beat Radio. Every week you'll hear breaking news, topics of training, information for the industry of security, public safety, and law enforcement. So strap in, hang on, we're about to speed off in this episode of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Hello everyone, and welcome to Private Officer Beat Radio, a production of Private Officer International. I'm your host, Rick McCann. I've got to welcome you to a new month, a month full of Thanksgiving, literally, and we're going to be kicking off this radio show with a little tune that I found while researching some items for today's episode. And so before we even get into the program, let's take a listen. All right, again, welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio, November 1st, 2021. I hope you enjoy that little inspirational song. Welcome to November, a month of Thanksgiving. And we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving and how bountiful it is for those of us in private security and public safety later this month. Now, if you missed yesterday's episode from On the Legal Side, I want to remind you to go back and take a listen. This is a subject that we have talked about once before on our radio program a number of years ago. We updated some information. We're going to be adding this into a webinar. We made this audio lecture available yesterday on both the radio show from On the Legal Side as well as a direct on-demand audio seminar, which is free to anyone. But we're going to be adding to that next week, and we're going to be making it a free webinar talking about the end-of-life documents, things like a POA, a power of attorney, a DNR, a do not resuscitate, and the importance of various documents that you must have now. You should not be waiting until you're 50, 60, or on death's door before you start putting these things together. God forbid anything happen to you on the job, you're killed in the line of duty, or COVID gets a hold of you and you don't make it through. It's very important that you have everything in order right now. And we also talk about the difference between whole life and term life. And we're going to be talking more about that in the part 2 aspect next week. But again, take a listen. We've made it available in a number of different platforms. It's on our Armor College website. It's on our POI website. And we sent out a broad mass email yesterday offering this free to anyone. You don't have to be a member of our association. And I hope that you do take a listen to it. Today on the program, we have so much to talk about. A lot of interesting conversations are taking place across the country and actually around the world, including one that we know about and been part of in Canada for quite some time. And we'll be talking more about that in today's topic. A lot of interesting things are happening in public safety, in security, in law enforcement. I don't want to beat this topic to death, but it's time for contract security to either step up or step out of the way. And we're going to be talking about contract security versus public safety in today's topic. And this is a very unique and important conversation, one that many security companies, and I don't mean just mom and pop startups, I'm talking about larger security companies and definitely proprietary agencies have been talking about for some time. I don't know, we've had this association and I've had the radio show for 18 years, and you know what? We've been talking about the evolution of private security for as long as I've had the radio show and the association, but even much more, probably 25 or 30 years ago. And it really started in 1989 when I first began my security company, and I looked into the various ways that I could be different. And I'm going to kind of clue you in on some of the things that I did differently that caused our security agency to stand out and to garner contracts that other companies either didn't want or couldn't get because of their lack of training and their recruitment and so forth. But we will be talking about that. We all know about the changes in physical security. I've talked to several friends of mine last week. We've had this conversation. And like I said, it's time for contract private security to either step up or step out altogether. Did you know that according to the Bureau of Justice statistics, nearly half of all local police departments have fewer than 10 officers? That's true. Research it yourself. Go to the DOJ, the Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Statistics. Look it up on the web. Almost half of all local police departments have fewer than 10 police officers. And I'm not talking about just in the last year or two, just since the defund the police nonsense started. No, I'm actually talking about statistically for many, many years. When I first got onto a police agency, we had far less than 10. We had about 4 or 5 full-timers and a couple of part-timers. How about this? 3 in 4 of the departments, about 75% of all public police agencies in America have no more than 2 dozen officers. 3 in 4 of the police departments in our nation, about 75% of all police departments have no more than 2 dozen officers. Again, this is pre the defund the police nonsense. And 9, these are facts. These don't come from me. These are coming from the Bureau of Justice. 9 in 10 police departments employ fewer than 50 sworn officers. I know we think about Detroit, Miami, LA, Houston, Chicago, all of these big police departments. But let me go through this one more time real quick. According to the Bureau of Justice statistics, and this has been updated in 2020, nearly half of all local police departments have fewer than 10 officers. 3 in 4 of those agencies, 75% of all police agencies, we're talking about your local community police, your town and city police, as well as the county, have no more than 2 dozen officers. And 9 out of 10 employ fewer than 50 sworn officers. These are the facts before COVID, before the defund the police. Police have always, in many areas, had a difficult time to recruit and to keep their department staffed to the maximum number. Every police department has a certain number of allowed positions within the police force. Many today are substantially lower. Their manpower, their staffing is substantially lower than 20 years ago. That's a fact. We all know that policing is tough, but think of the challenges that policing is facing these days in rural areas. These smaller police departments that have less than 100 officers, less than 50 police officers, less than 10 officers. And yet, they're trying their best to sustain the service and the quality of service to the citizens of their community. Now, the numbers are even lower due to a lack of funding, a lack of an ability to hire officers, a lack of officers quitting, officers taking early retirement. Today, we're going to be talking about how private security is shifting and must continue to shift their thinking, their model, their operational processes in order to stay relevant in this day and age. People, folks, let me tell you, times are changing. It's like any other type of business. If you don't change with those times, if you don't keep up to the standards, to the demands of your customers, you're no longer relevant. And as some private security companies now are realizing that there must be a change in their model, we want everyone to understand that in some areas of the country, the change in the service, the style of the offerings of these companies are not only changing how physical security is being delivered, but it's also changing the model to more of a public safety agency. And that's what we're talking about today. The difference between being just a physical contract security agency and a public safety agency, or at least offering public safety services. You have to stay relevant. You have to stay on top of what the consumer, what the customer wants. You can continue to push your own service, your own limited ability to deliver certain types of service. And there will always probably be some of those buyers out there. But the majority of consumers seeking security services today do not want the same service that was offered 20, 10, or even 3 years ago. And if you're not hearing that, if you're not seeing this evolution, there's going to be a substantial problem for you. Either step up or step out and understand the evolution. We are going to take a quick break. We have a lot of exciting and also serious information and news to deliver to you. Before I go to break, I do want to remind you, if you are in the Charlotte metropolitan or over across the line in South Carolina, be sure to contact our friends John at Premier Training Academy. They are easy to find, local folks, and they're teaching North Carolina contract security and South Carolina SLED, armed defense, first aid and CPR, and many other courses. Give them a call today at area code 704-806-4933. Easy to find at 5624 Executive Center Drive, right there in Metro Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. Great folks, great training. We're coming right back here on the Private Officer Beat Radio.
For some children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the Catholic Campaign for Human Development.
If you're not already receiving breaking news and our bi-weekly newsletter, Officer Down reports, and discount training news in your personal or business email, then go to our website right now at privateofficer.org. privateofficer.org. A Dropbox will come down. Just fill out your info, and you'll be the first, one of the first, for sure, to know about what's happening in the security industry. You'll know when a security officer is killed. You'll also get these great discounts on training and equipment and so much more. privateofficer.org. And if you're not already a member of the Private Officer International Association, sign up while you're there today. Become a lifetime member for just $99, and we'll also include a free Private Officer International patch.
Those of you who listen to the Private Officer Beat regularly, you probably are noticing that our audio and our program clarity is much better than just a week or two ago. We have upgraded our delivery service and audio production, and hopefully this is making a difference as we are literally putting our radio shows out there on multiple platforms, having it distributed in multiple methods and ways, and we are listened to in multiple countries. We want to offer the finest quality radio program, audio, all of the production that goes with it. We are looking right now to really even step it up even further than this, because we are about to roll out a brand new radio program at the first of the year called the Frontline Protector. And this is going to be substantially different than the Private Officer Beat Radio, as we're going to be talking about a host of public safety issues, that from firefighting to EMS to law enforcement to security, mental health, and others that are considered public safety providers. So we're very excited about this new program, going to be offered on a new platform and distributed widely, much more widely than we currently do with the Private Officer Beat radio program. And I hope that once we do have that rolled out, that you'll listen to that show as well and be a caller in, or be part of the conversation. And in fact, this is going to be very unique for us. We're going to be looking for a co-host. We are taking applicants right now. If you're a firefighter, an instructor in the EMS, fire, law enforcement communities, please send us an email at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Our new website, the Frontline Protectors, up and running soon. And there you'll be able to watch shows about the public safety community. You'll be able to listen to specific radio shows and podcasts from various other folks, and you'll also have an opportunity to market your service or product. If you're interested in becoming a radio host of your own program, or you already have a YouTube channel, we'd love for you to submit a little information to the help desk at privateofficer.com, and that's your point of contact for anything that involves Private Officer International. We'd love for you to get involved in what's happening on the Frontline Protectors media site. And like I said, if you are already a radio host, you have a podcast, you have something happening on a YouTube channel, we'd love to take a look and talk with you and see if this is a good fit for our brand new Frontline Protectors network. You can also be an adjunct instructor right now at Armor College. Now, a number of weeks ago, we did put out some information with a link to an application. Only 4 simple steps on becoming an adjunct instructor. Contact help desk at Armor College. Ha, ha, ha. I fooled you. Not Private Officer. Nope. Same beginning, help desk at Armor, ARMOUR college.org. Adjunct instructors are paid. You can make some money, work your own hours, work in your area. You can teach online and hold seminars and local and regional training without a lot of hoopla or money, and you can work from home. And we're going to show you how to do that. Contact us at helpdesk at armorcollege.org. Like I said at the beginning of the program, we have certainly a lot of things to talk about. We always do. And, of course, today is no different. We're really facing some serious decisions in private security. And you know what? It saddens me that both large and small companies are not taking it serious, not realizing it, or not wanting to deal with it. And there's a lot of changes coming about as private security continues to, their services and duties continue to grow and expand beyond whatever was for physical security. This past week has been a trying week once again for that private sector, that private security industry. And I don't know if I should point fingers and blame people or cry because of the sadness. I've done both, actually. But, again, this week, 3 security officers murdered, including 1 unarmed security officer involved in an active shooter incident at a mall, and 6 others dying of COVID. I'm very disappointed, to be frank with you, about not only individuals and companies, but the public not understanding the depth of what security officers do, and companies not really putting out the PR, the public information about what their service is and what the security industry really is all about. We're not guards. We're not gate watchers. We're not people that are just there to observe and report. And even if we were, we're on the front line, and therefore we're going to be one of the first killed in a situation like happened last week on Monday in Boise, Idaho. Boise, of all places, a medium-sized city. 2 people, including an unarmed security officer, and multiple others were shot. 2 people died. Multiple others shot. The unarmed security officer was brave, because that person, not knowing what was happening, went to investigate and unfortunately became a statistic, became a victim. Joseph Aker, 26, of Caldwell, Idaho, gave his life in the line of service as he tried to figure out what was happening. I don't think that he deliberately just confronted an armed man knowingly. He was investigating possible shots fired. And unfortunately, he lost his life. Police responded quickly. they said that the shooter, whose name I'm not even going to mention, I don't care about this guy, was well known to police. 3 security officers murdered, 6 dying of COVID in 1 week, 1 unarmed security officer killed in an active shooter situation. Don't you think in this day and age that it's really time to reassess what security does, what training is necessary, what weaponry are we going to issue? I don't think one security officer should be in the field without some type of defensive mechanism, whether that be less than lethal or lethal. Sure, in many situations, they do need to be armed with firearms. There's no doubt about that. But when we do this, we cannot willy-nilly start issuing guns out, start giving people permission to carry just because they have some type of guard card that says, okay, they can be an armed guard. No, we need to do the training. We need to do the continuing training. We need to better qualify those applicants and prepare those applicants for the new job, the new role, the new duties of private security. We're really caught in the middle here. And I really don't think enough people are taking notice of what's happening. 3 and 4 police departments have no more than 24 officers, and 9 and 10, they have fewer than 50 sworn police officers. You got to understand, long before the defund the police, security has been filling that frontline duty. They've been responding to the calls, just like in this active shooter situation. They've been responding as the first responder in most cases, many cases, long before law enforcement. When are we going to take this to heart? When are we going to take this seriously? When are we going to better equip, better train, better prepare our personnel? I'm frustrated. I'm angry. And I think you should be too if you're working in the security industry. On another note, about the same topic, and I don't have any good, nice way of saying things. That's one of the drawbacks. I'm a Yankee. I'm a Connecticut-born person. You know, I tell it the way that it is. I don't hold back punches. I'm not for today's world. I can't pretty everything up. I can't make everything sound nice. Let me tell you this, security officers. If you want respect, if you want more money, if you want to be treated as true first responders, you got to take those training. You got to take those certifications. You got to be willing to be the difference, be the cream of the crop. You can't lay back. Oh, I'm not going to do crap. I'm going to just collect a paycheck. I'm not going to take any more training than I'm required by the state. How many times do we have to go through this particular discussion? You take the training anyways. Find a way. There's a lot of free training, and we have great training ourselves. Armor College has training, very low rate. We even have payment plans. Do what's necessary to be prepared. I've been around for a long time, not only in private security, but law enforcement and public safety. I take training almost every week. I'm constantly instructing, but I also take personal training online and on-site in classrooms. I want to continue advancing my training, my education in all the fields that I am working in so that I'm well prepared, that I can respond adequately in situations. The fact is, we cannot let our wages direct how we're going to act, what our professionalism is going to be like, what standards are we going to set for ourselves, how we're going to respond. Across the country and really around the world in many nations, private security do a heck of a job, and they are on the front line, and they certainly are making a difference, and they certainly do save lives. Is it a time that we give them the best? There are many security personnel out there, as we're going to talk about in our topic area later on, that are making the difference and are more qualified and are true professionals. But there are others who are really, they're just lagging. They're just following behind. And we really do need to change that. We really do. Do you have any videos of you patrolling apartments, condominiums? Do you have any videos of interacting in an emergency? Do you have photos of interacting in an emergency or patrolling? We need those to be able to really show the community, the world, the country, what we do as professional security and first responders. Please send that to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. And if you're not sure whether or not it's permissible, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We need it. We want to show the good side of private security personnel and not have to talk about all the bad sides like we're going to have to do coming up shortly. We'll be right back. We are talking today about private security and public safety. You're listening to the Private Officer B Radio.
Who knows what a child will grow up to be? It's one of the coolest things about kids. The unknown, the potential, the chance to do or become whatever they can imagine. But what if something happens during childhood that stops them from reaching that potential? Did you know that preventable injuries are the #1 killer of children in the United States? And around the world, one child dies from a preventable injury every 30 seconds. But the important thing to remember about preventable injuries is that they're preventable. We can do something to stop them. Things to make sure kids get the chance to be creative and play. The chance to take chances and explore. The chance to fall down and get back up. Help us give your kids, and every kid, the chance to grow up, reach their potential, and become whatever they can imagine. Learn how at safekids.org.
Kyle loved hunting. He was in a tree stand and a support broke. He wasn't wearing a safety harness. I can't help Kyle, but I can help you. Please wear a safety harness. Please take the free hunter safety course, and please be careful.
Become a member of the Private Officer International Association. You're going to receive up to 50 member benefits. Right now, you can take advantage of that $70 off price. Get it for $99 just by going to privateofficer.org. Click on the specials link, and it will take you to that special $99. And that is quite the break, as many organizations and associations lifetime memberships can run you as high as $500, $600, $800. Now $99, you can become a POI member. Not only will you receive a little certificate and stuff like that, but you'll receive benefits and you'll have discounts. Contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com if you need more information about that. We're going to be conducting area training in 2022. By golly, I am excited to get back on the road after all of this COVID stuff. That's not to say COVID isn't real or isn't over, because it's not over, and it definitely is real, but we want to get out there We're going to be coming up with a list of areas that we want to train in, and we're going to be sending those out. But in the meantime, if you're interested in sponsoring church security, first responder security, less than lethal, de-escalation, different training, contact help desk at privateofficer.com. If you're a church security director or a security company owner, we'd like to get this training out. We'd love to be able to come and teach the new mental health responder education. This is not just for paramedics and firefighters and police. This definitely is for security. You are the first one on scene. You have to be able to understand what's happening, evaluate a situation. I myself, just a few days ago, was involved in a situation I didn't know. I heard some yelling, some screaming, some crying. I thought somebody was being hurt. I thought there was somebody being killed. I mean, it was so loud that I heard it and responded, and it turned out to be an emotionally disturbed person. Without my training, without my knowledge, I really would not have been prepared to even understand, to begin to understand what to do or what was going on. Mental health is a real thing. And, in fact, the Juvenile Doctors Association just put out a article this past week saying that it's a crisis for juveniles. Mental health is a real issue. You can take this course online if you don't want to do it as a group. Go to Armour, ARMOUR college.org and sign up for today. We also have a instructor's track because we really want to get this training out. If you want to become an instructor, you can also go to Armour, ARMOUR college.org, right on the front page, and register for that today. We recognize as many people as we can in private security and our first responders. But now is the time for you to help us step up and recognize both private security in your area as well as public safety servants like fire, EMS, and law enforcement. We have first responder awards, plaques, certificates, and other recognition. If you see a police officer involved in saving a life or doing something good and you think they need to be recognized, we want to be involved. Contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We may even have you be the presenter. Recently in Mississippi, we presented to police officers for their involvement in apprehensions of felons taking guns and drugs off the street. Just this past week, a Florida state trooper stopped on the interstate and was able to save the life of an infant by providing immediate first aid CPR services. Also, not too far away, in Atlanta, Georgia, an Atlanta police officer sprung into action after a vehicle drove off a bridge and was down an embankment. Officer Jimmy Sasakar was notified by witnesses of the crash, but here was a problem. Between where the officer was and where the car had literally gone over the bridge and down an embankment, there was a gate, there was a fence. And in order for that officer to get there 50 feet below, he had to get permission from the patrol supervisor to take his vehicle and ram it through the locked gate. And that's what the officer did. You can go to the website and check out what his patrol car looks like today. But he rammed that gate repeatedly until he had access. And then he ran down to the vehicle and began providing first aid until EMS got on scene. That person will be recognized by Private Officer International. If you have situations like this, please get involved. It's disheartening when so many people complain about how things are in their life or their world or their community, but they don't get involved. Here's We're giving you dozens of ways to be involved. This is one of those. You can also become a committee member, be part of the benevolent program, be part of the Officer Down program, be part of the awards program. Contact us today at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. You can also be part, by the way, of that virtual museum that we're doing, and that's going great. And we're really excited about being able to put that online in the new year. Be part of it. If you don't know what it entails, or you need more information, please contact us. It doesn't take. I mean, a lot of people think it takes a lot of time. Oh, you're going to take away from my time. I don't have any time. No, we're talking about whatever time that you can spare. 2 security guards charged with murder, and a third one has been sued. A Long Beach school safety/security officer, a non-sworn officer, now charged with second-degree murder in the murder of an 18-year-old woman. The officer went to investigate some type of disturbance at a Long Beach Unified School, and there was a fight. Evidently, one of the people that was involved jumped into the car. When that woman started up the car to leave, and there's video of this, it shows that the safety security officer made the wrong decision and pulled his firearm and began shooting into the car. That woman did eventually die, and that school security safety officer was fired and now is charged with second-degree murder. Also in Los Angeles County, a security officer at a nightclub charged with second-degree murder in the shooting death of a customer who was unarmed just because they got into a confrontation. A third security guard, an employee of Allied, or at least was an employee of Allied Universal in Henderson, Nevada, is now being sued for a confrontation where he stabbed to death a shoplifter at a Dillard's department store. He claimed that shoplifter pulled a knife on him and that he defended himself. Police don't have enough evidence to charge him at this point, but the family has already filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and charges could still be pending. The Clark County DA still looking at possible charges there. Coming out of Los Angeles County this past week, another security guard has been sentenced to at least 21 years in prison for killing a customer over a fight about a COVID face mask. A man charged with this offense was found guilty. In fact, he pled no contest, which is a finding of guilt, to voluntary manslaughter, reduced from second-degree murder, and now he has been sentenced in prison. All of this over a face mask. What is going on? Are we just not able to comprehend what is serious and what is not? And here's another incident. I hate to layer things on, but this is what I've been talking about. The situation in private security is getting worse because we're not hiring the right people. We're not able to hire the right people. We're not training the people to the standards that they need to be trained. A security officer 2 days ago in Atlanta shot and seriously wounded a man at a Walgreens who stole nothing more than one package of M&Ms worth about $1. Let me say that one more time. The security officer in the 500 block of Piedmont Avenue, I know where that is, shot and almost killed, but did seriously injure a shoplifter for stealing a package of M&Ms. He told police the man charged at him and he felt in danger, so he fired his weapon. And not only that, he fired his weapon twice, once as a warning shot, and when the man charged at him, he shot the man. That's unreasonable force. I'm beside myself when I read these articles coming out of New Hampshire. A security officer that we told you about a couple of years ago in 2019, who killed a Timberland employee. That's the company that makes boots and so forth. He killed an employee at their headquarters. That former security officer, Robert Pavo, has been found guilty. He's pled guilty. He was he was in the process of going through the trial, and he pled guilty. He's been sentenced to 55 years to life in prison for that. I know we're talking about a lot of serious things today, but no bull about this. In Indiana, police had to shut down an interstate to corral, a bull on the loose. Putnam County Sheriff's Office said they had to shut down the interstate, called the most Midwestern call ever, according to their Facebook page. They were called because a bull had escaped and was walking around on the interstate, causing a traffic hazard. They had to shut down that interstate for quite some time. The sheriff said they looked at what charges would be placed, but no bull about it. It was a serious situation, but the bull was, after quite some time, corralled. One deputy said staring down a 2,000 bull was obviously frightening, but no bull about it. We got him in custody. In Kentucky, not to be outdone, a hog escaped a Kentucky farm and somehow found his way into an elementary school where he quickly took his place among the fifth graders that were being taught science. No doubt about it, he was trying to learn a thing or two about the science of not becoming tomorrow's bacon. And not to be outdone by bacon, hogs, or bulls, 2 zebras escaped a pumpkin patch in Illinois. For 2 hours, police from a number of agencies were on a manhunt trying to corral this pair of zebras. Police closing down streets and going through a very bizarre pursuit finally got these zebras in custody along Interstate I-90. Along with the Illinois State Police, they were able to get them back into custody and return them after a 2-hour-long pursuit. No bull about it. We got a lot of news, and sometimes it's not always serious. Coming this week, out of many different cities, a security officer in Nashville, Tennessee, could have been charged but was not after he threatened a man for trespassing. The man walking his dog at a dog park in a private area was confronted by the security guard who threatened him, even put his hand on his gun. Police arriving saying the man did nothing wrong. The property was not posted, and he had not been notified of this being private property or given any type of warning. So, again, more than likely, this man walking his dog will more than likely sue the security officer. Virginia and Philadelphia, just among 2 other places that have recently told law enforcement, do not write any tickets for minor violations, including having expired tags, having broken taillights, smelling marijuana, having tinted windows. I work in Virginia and several other states. I've been talking with officers there. Although this is, some might say, very small in comparison to other crimes that they could be involved in, many police chiefs argue that this is actually not a pretext to traffic infractions, but it actually is stopping the more violent criminal, the wanted suspects. And that's what I really enjoyed through the years of traffic stops. You never know what you're going to get into. Right now, it's just an expired tag, but once you got that person stopped, it could be for gun charges, drug charges, even murderers do get caught through traffic stops. And I think this is really a disservice to law enforcement and to the law. The University of Texas being accused of not taking sexual assaults serious. We talked last week about the increase of rapes and sexual assaults, especially on campus. The University of Texas received 1,415 reports from employees and students of sexual harassment, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. But even though the law in place demanded that they investigate, the University of Texas, according to a new investigation, only investigated 6% of those more than 400 cases. We're seeing and hearing about this across the country, and this is very serious. Obviously, it's not only a violation of the law, but this is really, it kind of almost boils down to dereliction of duty. In Las Vegas, police there are looking for a man that stabbed a security officer. The suspect was a shoplifter. Security went to apprehend him. The man produced a knife and stabbed the security officer several times, and he is wanted. Go to our website at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com, and there will be a picture. Omaha high school security officer has been injured in Omaha, Nebraska, breaking up a fight. He had a serious injury to his right shoulder. A 15-year-old and a 16-year-old has been charged in that melee. In Kansas City, police there have removed all officers from the Kansas City International Airport. We're not talking about some little local community airport. We're talking about a major airport. The police chief there says they don't have the officers to staff that position at this time. They've reassigned all police officers to beats, to patrol beats, because of understaffing. The police chief said in the future, if they are back up to their staffing levels that they should be, that they may consider or look into coming back and providing that law enforcement to the airport. No word on what is going to take place there, who's going to provide that law enforcement at that international airport. A New Hampshire state trooper has been killed this week. A trooper investigating an accident was killed on Interstate 95 and tragically left behind a family. According to the police chief, Staff Sergeant Jesse Terrell was killed Thursday during this horrific accident. Remember, you can report news anytime to helpdesk at privateofficer.com. Report anything that's happening. Denver, we're talking about airports. Denver Airport Security announced this past week, they are going on strike Tuesday, tomorrow, November 2nd. The security agency that provides security for the Denver International Airport and the union has decided that's it. Their contract expired October 1st, and they have not had any forward movement on a new one. And the union has decided to strike. No word as to for how long. A security officer in Bentonville, South Carolina, fatally shot a person at a nightclub. The man was asked to leave the nightclub. A confrontation ensued. Police are still investigating right now. They don't know if it was a true self-defense situation or not. There was a fight. The security officer had the credentials, and he pulled his firearm and killed the man. A Houston security officer also shot a man multiple times after he was hit in the forehead with a baseball bat. He shot the man numerous times also at a nightclub after a confrontation. He fired his weapon at least 3 times Investigators said that the security officer received numerous stitches, and also that the shooting victim will also recover. In one other note of this week's highlight news, a Tulsa security officer, a lot of action for private security in Tulsa. I'm not sure why. I guess there's a lot of companies out there or use of the private security forces, but a Tulsa security officer took a man into custody at the Tulsa Raceway Park. This was last week after an incident where an armed man shot someone. The security officer took the man into custody and had him handcuffed. And at that time, a group formed and they began beating on the man who had been taken into custody. Police arrived and they took over responsibility for that suspect. We have a lot of news. Go to our breaking news blog every day at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com and join us on the web at www.facebook.com/Private Officer International. And, of course, on Twitter, we're there 24/7, 365 days a year at twitter.com/Private Officer. Hey everyone, you're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector right here on the Private Officer Radio Network. Now don't go away because we are coming right back when we've got a whole lot more right here on the Private Officer Beat Radio.
More than 114,000 people are waiting on an organ transplant at any given time in the U.S., and at least 80% of those are waiting for a kidney.
For kidneys, it largely defaults to waiting time, but for livers, hearts, and lungs, it's largely based on the degree of illness and how sick someone is, and that defines their priority on the waiting list.
Dr. Charles Rosen, director of the Transplant Center at Mayo Clinic, says living donors can help save people waiting for a kidney or a liver, but those waiting for other organs, unfortunately, have to wait for a deceased donor. Dr. Rosen says if you're interested in saving another person's life with your organs after you die, it's important to sign up as a donor now while you're still alive to save your family from having to make a difficult decision at a difficult time.
We've heard from donor families or potential donor families that decided not to donate because it was such a stressful time in their lives that then 3-6 months later they felt some remorse for not doing that.
For the Mayo Clinic News Network, I'm Ian Ross.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Body Armor USA. We've got what it takes to protect you. You hear us talk about them all the time, but it's true. Body Armor USA. They've got everything that you would need to protect yourself, whether you are law enforcement, security, corrections. Trust me, our friends over at Body Armor USA, they have the top of the line protective clothing, body armor, /resistant vest, and so much more. We're so glad that they are one of our top shelf sponsors, and believe me, I highly recommend them. 516 area code 817-1666. Call our friend Ben Rockman. You know what? We've been together as friends, and he's a POI member, and I've learned so much about the quality of the items that they have. We highly recommend them, and give them a call. Give them a chance to show you and tell you all that they have to offer. November is a month of Thanksgiving, and later this month, we're going to talk a little bit about how security officers can be a blessing, not only during the month of Thanksgiving, but also all year round. We are committed here at Private Officer International to be the change, not because it's the slogan of the day, not because it's the optics of what's happening. We've always tried to be the change, and that's what really hurts, and it's disappointing when so many others want to be oh ho ho hum and same old, same old. You can get involved in so many ways and be a blessing to others, but we're going to have a little extra opportunity for you this month of Thanksgiving, and we'll be talking about that probably on next week's radio program. Be sure that you tell your friends and coworkers to be listening to our show every week. We always got something good to offer. Make sure that they are with us on our social media platforms, that they check out our websites, our breaking news blog every single day. As I've said, I don't know, hundreds of times, maybe even thousands. We do so much for the security industry and get so little recognition or so little back. And I don't know. We got a lot of big things happening in the beginning of 2020. Maybe that will help change. I'd love for you to get involved in campaigning for us, literally in your state, handing out information, handing out business cards. You can even become an affiliate of Private Officer International and put our info on your website if you have one, and you'll get a commission for every time someone clicks on that link. To learn more, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Today, we're talking about really what's happening in our country, the changes in private security. I told you a few minutes ago about the national statistics long before the defund the police, and it's true. Nearly half of all local police departments have fewer than 10 officers. Check it out for yourself if you don't believe me. 3 in 4 of those departments, 75% of all police departments in our nation, have no more than 20. And 9 in 10 employ fewer than 50 sworn officers. With all of that being said, with the defund the police still sounding pretty loud, even though some schools have brought back SROs and some police departments are being almost begged to increase service, it's kind of hard to gauge really what's happening. In some areas of our country, you know, the police are not able to provide the service, while in others, they still are highly loved. And that's just the bottom line by their community. But here's a note. In this past week's news, 2 different police academies in the country, one only passed 28% of their class. Now, in every school, every police academy, like any school of any type, only a certain percent pass. You might have 100 in the class, and at the end, at graduation, you may only have 70. So that would be 70%. But in one graduating class this past week, out of all of the officers that were there originally, 28% was what they wound up with graduating. 28%. That is a low, low number. I don't think I've ever seen that low. Another police academy said they only graduated 33%. 33% of every police recruit that was in that academy, only 33% graduated. And more discouraging news coming this week from Florida. More than half of Florida school resource officers in Duval County, which is Jacksonville, Florida, the largest city in the state of Florida. Many people believe that it's Miami, but it actually is Jacksonville. 990 some odd thousand population. More than half of their SROs have resigned. And we're talking about their new class that was hired this year. Like many other police departments and employers, they're losing people left and right. According to the school system, they have 22 police officer vacancies. They cannot keep those officers. Of its 93 recent school police officer applicants, only 13 was hired this year. Of those 13 officers that were hired, 8 have already quit. This is where we're at with law enforcement in our nation, in many areas, if not all areas of the country. I could sit here the rest of the day, and we could talk about what is happening for real across the country. So today, I do want to talk about private security versus public safety. The contract security model is broken. Let's just be real. Let's be honest. And it has been almost since it began. In its earliest of days, security took on the place or filled in for law enforcement. Pinkerton, one of the first agencies, if not the first agency of private security, started by protecting stagecoaches and trains from being hammered by armed robbers. And they quickly expanded their service base to include chasing down wanted fugitives because the marshals and the sheriffs across the land didn't have the manpower, sound familiar, to do that. So they took it on. And then they foiled an assassination of then President Abraham Lincoln. No, I'm not kidding you. And they became the first U.S. Secret Service agency in the U.S. Many people do not know that. Many people didn't know that. But it's a fact. They were hired by President Lincoln to guard them. And during World War I and II, as many of our men across the nation went to war, security officers were often deputized as law enforcement. They were private police. They had full arrest authority. They directed traffic. They responded to calls in their area. They were the police at power grids, oil supplies, highways, manufacturers of many products. And as World War II ended, contract security remained property police, where they had authority on their property, much like many of our special police and private police across the country do today. Contract security overall is stuck. They're stuck. They're just going around and around like a hamster on a wheel in a cage doing the same old thing. You would think that after 9/11, as more and more companies realize the need for true physical security, that regulatory agencies and private security contractors and users of that security service would unite, and they'd come up with some formal agreement with specifications of training and areas of service, duties and authority, and minimal standards. But no, it didn't happen. It may have happened in certain pockets, but because there is no federal law on the minimal standards for private security like there is for law enforcement, well, guess what? Every state's different. Some states don't even require any training or licensing at all. Those are fewer and far between, but they're still out there. It makes no sense to me because, make no mistake, some users of security services and some contract security owners are seeing the shift. They're seeing the evolution that's happening for private security. They understand what's happening. The pendulum is swinging. What am I talking about? Security services once served as nothing more really than a fire watch, if I'm to be honest, or a gate tender for access control. But they're now being required to be much more than that. They're being required in many cases to be specialized. And so there are security companies out there that are specialists. I am familiar with security companies that only specialize in armed canine patrol. We have them as members of Private Officer International. They don't do static security. They only do armed patrols with dogs. Not just any old dog. Their dogs meet the same licensing and specs as law enforcement canines do. We're familiar with a security company that only contracts to respond to activated burglar alarms. And we've talked about similar companies. One grew their company in Mobile, Alabama, back in the 80s and early 90s. They responded only to activated burglar alarms at homes and businesses. They had a whole crew of mobile armed officers that would go out and check the alarm before the police was called. And then sometimes they'd get in the middle of a burglary and they'd apprehend the suspect. Other times they'd notify the alarm company it's a false alarm, or they'd stand by for law enforcement because there was access or a burglary that had occurred or might have been in progress. There's also a security company that, there's multiple actually security companies that contract to automotive and to manufacturers with not only physical security, but they provide the EMTs, the medics, and even RNs on property. Many large manufacturers, especially in automotive and big manufacturing companies, are either required by OSHA or take it upon themselves to have EMTs and nurses in their job sites around the clock, and even fire brigades. So there are companies, security companies, that provide what's called a public safety, all around public safety. Yes, they provide physical security, but they also provide those EMTs and nurses. They provide the staffing and the training for the fire brigade. That's responding real true first responders long before the fire department gets there. In other words, they are really true public safety officers. There's a pendulum that's swinging, a paradigm that's happening, an evolution to the contract security business. The way that we did business is not how business is going to be done or is being done currently. We have discussed previously on this radio show and many others about the use of sworn private law enforcement. Many areas using these commissioned, fully sworn private police officers, not engaged, not employed by public entities, to provide police services for colleges, hospitals, community, gated communities, parks, mobile patrol response, and many other areas. In fact, I know one right in Charlotte, right here, that provides police service completely for the light rail. Charlotte-Mecklenburg County Police, otherwise known as CMPD, they don't have much to do with the light rail because they have their own internal police force. What I'm speaking about today are not your typical security guard services. And until our industry understands the change, until they are willing to be part of that change, we're going to have a problem. Step up or step out. While the standard guard service, yes, it will always remain. There'll always be some low-end services provided, whether that be access control or unarmed physical security. But you're going to continue seeing the increase of providing true emergency service, true public safety services. In fact, a number of years ago, I took a number of services that my company provided and combined them into the Community Public Safety Service organization, where we provide many different services. In fact, we now franchise that, and I'd love for you to go to our website at publicsafetyservices.org, see what we offer, and, if you're a security company owner, big or small, you might want to look at unifying, putting together different services, and stop this, penny ante, competition. Everybody's bidding on a contract and 10 cents cheaper, 50 cents cheaper. That doesn't work anymore. I don't want those contracts. I want the contracts that pay the money, the professional contracts, those that allow me to hire the best qualified and give them the best training. Some states allow private security contractors or other individual companies to be public safety agencies. Even without sworn law enforcement, you can still, on contract, provide EMT service. Our company, Public Safety Services, can provide EMT, private police, code enforcement, community service, and so much more. I can help you. Our business can help you to offer the same thing. Private security must be willing to shift. They must be willing to evolve. Like any other business, always evolving to serve its customers. Static guards? Nah. It's not the thing, and it won't be the thing. It's one of the least required, other than for large corporations, offices. You're going to see a much more mobile, a much more responsive format or form of private security. The new method of providing physical security is not just manpower, but it's electronic security. We've talked about this before. Having a combination of cameras, motion sensors. I teach this as a regulatory course with Armor College, and companies are getting it, and they're using electronic security in combination with physical security. And that's what you're going to have to be willing to step up to now, not in the future, because now is the future. You must be willing to understand that static guard, that guy at the access point, it's not going to cut it, and it doesn't cut it today. Combining physical security with electronic security, cameras, motion sensors, also drones. Security companies now provide drone oversight for outside events, even weddings, football games, baseball games, concerts, and special events outside. But last year, I came across a company that provides a different type of drone. They had a platform of mini drones that actually could be programmed to fly a certain route throughout a business, a warehouse, a distribution center, equipped with cameras and GPS. The security officer could sit remotely, either in a central dispatch center, like an alarm center, or on site, and monitor these drones. The drones did the patrols, and they would send back data, video. They could be monitored in real time on camera. They're on the drone, and it can be monitored by a central station, a central dispatch, or even probably by the security provider or the client. Robots, laugh if you will. We've been talking about this for 5 years. They do their job in certain types of contracts and environments. No, they're not good for every place. Neither is physical guard, static guard. Not good for every place. But with these combinations, along with your physical security, that's what many businesses have moved to. Let's be honest. Not only is it cost saving, but it's more effective. And that's how we get to public safety services. The contract security business, it's going downhill. It's still going to be there, but unless you can provide a different level of public safety, I think it's going to be hard to compete, not in the future, but today. Security services are finding that static security is being reduced and mobile patrols are increasing. Many companies want to eliminate the physical service altogether. It's very expensive. You have to worry about being able to hire the manpower and all of those fees that go with it, the training and so forth. Now, if you can provide that electronic oversight, that electronic combination of electronic security, drones, robots, now you are upselling and increasing the level of service that your company is going to be able to provide. So what's the difference between a public safety company and a security company, and how does it work? Many internal proprietary security companies or security departments at hospitals and colleges and universities already are quasi-law enforcement. They're providing true public safety services. And by that, we mean being able to provide not only that physical security, but the electronic security, providing fire response, having your people trained at least to the fire brigade level, and that is a certification that you can get, being at least an emergency medical responder, EMR. You can be qualified at armorcollege.org. Having that officer qualified in some form of at least basic post, police officer certification. This is all public safety services. I believe that as we continue to see the security industry evolve, it'll be a requirement that you have advanced training, advanced firearms, advanced mental health, EMS training, fire service. With many areas that have very few law enforcement, private security will be hired and has already been hired to patrol cities and towns and communities and business zones. That's the wave of the security industry today, and it will continue to be so in the future. In some areas, you can become a public safety agency, not a contract security agency, but a public safety agency where you do provide those services for large corporations, manufacturers, and even towns. And you do not have to be licensed by a security regulatory agency. Of course, you do have to have much more training. Your personnel must be the top-notch, higher quality. You must have experience in each of these areas, or at least your staff. Your insurance policies are going to be higher. Your liability is going to be much more, but it's going to pay off. I really believe that the day of the unarmed, less than qualified person will not be part of the security industry. I don't really see static security just sitting someplace. I would say in the next 5 years, maybe even before that, it's going to be just a slim margin of providing physical security. Already, I know of a number of contract security companies that have reduced their staffing and they've become alarm installers, and they put in cameras, they put in motion sensors and detectors, they put in even robotic aspects to their security, and mobile response, more patrolling, and that is the wave of the future. Well, I hope this has given you some food for thought. Be sure to check out publicsafetyservices.org. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I do want to enlighten you, engage your mind, get you to have some critical thinking and just some knowledge, and hopefully I have done that. Until the next time, of course, we want you to be safe. We want you to be blessed. And, of course, we're going to see you back out here on the radio. But if you have any questions about this or any other topic, contact helpdesk@privateofficer.com. God bless.